Hi there, I'm Joshua Finn from J&H Aerospace, and this is installment number 3 in the 2020 Science Olympiad Wright Stuff Kit Review Series. Today we're going to work on the Minnow, actually I guess that's where the actual label is, the Minnow from Retro RC. So the Minnow is this is an adaptation of the Minnow. The Minnow is a kind of long-running beginner's airplane by Lloyd Shales. The data in here says it dates back to 1994. I don't know a whole lot about Lloyd Shales. All I know is his name's been out there on the web for a long time. And there for a while, the Minnow was really popular. It's kind of faded somewhat into obscurity, at least for us in the mainstream. I'm sure wherever Lloyd is based out of, it's still, kind of a big thing. But honestly, I've not had that much exposure to it. I haven't seen anybody say a whole lot about it in the past few years. But it is a very good design, and it was popular for a reason back when it was really being pushed. Anyway, Retro RC is not new to Wright Stuff. Last year, and I think in several years prior, they have made Wright Stuff kits. I owe you guys and Retro RC an apology because last season I did not review the Wright Stuff kit. They had a Minnow, and then they had an airplane called the Katana, which was a little more optimized for the rules. And I was like, well, it's kind of similar to the one from Laser Cut, so I'm not going to review it. That wasn't nice to them, honestly. It was not fair to them, because that meant that I cut them out of the review series. And it wasn't fair to you guys seeing, having an opportunity to see everything that's out there. So this season we're not doing that, and that means also I want you guys to help me out. So if you know of a Wright Stuff or Elastic Launch Glider kit that we have not reviewed, please post it down there or email me or contact me through the website, whatever, and tell me, hey, you missed one, because I need to know. So with that, we're going to pop this thing open and we're going to see what all's in here. I'm going to open this kit up. I have never built a Retro RC rubber-powered plane before. I've built their Scholastic gliders, but that's it. So, the packaging is, is very kind of retro, very nice packaging, honestly. Pretty cool setup. I've always been impressed by the quality of their materials. Everything's in the little bags, kind of like what we do, except they're sealed bags with a nice little topper there to show, to show what the airplane is. Very high quality kits in my experience. So we have several things here. So this builds 2 airplanes, and it's a $33 kit. So very competitive pricing with everything else that's out there. So we've got motor sticks here. One thing I already noticed that's interesting is we've got some propellers. Standard style sleek streak propellers, but we also have the bits for a kit to make a propeller. So we're probably going to try both. Got another hardware pack here. Those look like stab spars. I don't know what else is in there. So what I'll do is start popping open some of the papers. By the way, these are propeller blade. These are to be used for propeller blades for everything there. So I don't know. Again, like I said, this is my first time with this airplane or any rubber power kit from Retro RC. So I'm very curious to see what all's in here. Okay, so you've got tissue in several sizes. This is authentic Japanese tissue. I mean, it's the nice, cool stuff. Alright, so all I'll show you here is you've got a set of plans here. I'm very interested in... there's some interesting stuff here. So we've got some sort of a adjustable rudder setup here. So I was kind of concerned that they wouldn't have that, but they do. So that's the first page. The second page is the actual patterns for your flying surfaces. So looks pretty good. And then, oh my word. Now I gotta see this. 3-blade propeller design. I have no idea how that works. This is your propeller diameter checker. Okay, so there are a lot of jigs and lots of information. Honestly, it borders on information overload what's provided here. So the one issue that you have to deal with in this kit is you got to make some decisions, because the instructions are basically giving you gobs and gobs of different ways to do this. So yeah, you gotta just kind of at some point say, this is what I'm going to go with. Like these are different templates for propeller blades made from here. They're yada yada yada. There's a lot of stuff, and it's good stuff. But at some point you gotta, you know, come in and say, all right, I'm going to do X or Y or Z. There are lots of jigs that are provided, made from inordinately good quality balsa, to be perfectly honest. So let's see here if I can make sure I know how to. So this is a propeller pitch gauge that you build. It's one of several different options you have for dihedral gauges. So not dihedral, pitch gauges. So like I said, there are an insane number of options. And I've had this experience where I've had to do this, but yeah, the sight of contest grade C grain being used for jigs is just kind of, it makes part of me die inside. I mean, I've had to do it, but I'm not sure the company with the product volume that Retro RC has really needs to use the nicest balsa in the world for those jigs. Anyway, pop that out. And then, I don't know where I threw my sanding block. Here it is. Basically, you sand this towards the sharp edge, and so this gives you a balancer. It's kind of like our glider balancers that we sell. And then lastly, you've got this gizmo. I'm not entirely sure what I'm seeing here, because there are extra parts, it feels like. Because these I feel like should go to something. Oh, now I see. Dum-dum. These are jigs that you use in assembling the airplane as far as the wings and whatnot. Personally, maybe a little overkill, but let it never be said that Retro RC skimps on quality, because they make nice stuff. There we go. Alright, so you've got your 3 jig sets, because one of them is you know, made up of 2 jigs and the other isn't. So we'll set that aside. They talk about jumping straight into the propeller, so I've got some cut down propellers. I don't know. Let's do it true to the plans. The words. Words are hard. I really struggle with words. So these are the same props that Laser Cut has in their kits, and basically I think the intent here is that you do this 8cm circle thing. The one complaint I have is you know, there's no center to check with, so actually here's what I can do, better way. So there's this propeller pattern thingamabobber right here, and what I can do, center this propeller over that. Nope, there we go. And then you want to curve the sides over. I don't know if you can see that, but basically I'm just marking off where to cut this propeller. This is the same propeller that Laser Cut uses in their kits. There we go. And so there's your snipped off, ridiculous, stupid 2020 rules propeller. We'll set that aside. There are some other ways to approach this. One thing they actually show in here that's kind of cool is gluing extensions onto the propeller. And this seems ridiculous on the surface, but I tested the, what was it, the Laser Cut planes kit with this, and it works disgustingly well. Just never would have thought that it would work that well. Alright, so that's one propeller approach. Let's look at another one. So you've got these two bamboo skewers. Come out of that. Come on. Got a prop shaft. Out. And then these are pre-drilled aluminum bearings. Those are nice. That's like worth the value of the kit right there, so long as the shaft does fit through them. A little on the tight side. There we go. Hole's not centered. That actually does not matter. That's actually pretty sweet right there. So what you're to do is tape this assembly. There's a center line mark here that you use. That needs to like be a notch or something, because I know high school kids and how imprecise they can be. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a spar here. And then what we'll do is I'm going to measure out 4 centimeters. Slide this guy back out. one of the things I'll mention is this propeller design is actually one I used myself long ago on outdoor endurance planes. I made a lot of propellers this way. And they were propellers that won some pretty substantial contests. In fact, I got my first ever contest win at my first ever contest with a propeller that was made like this. So, take that off of there. Basically, want to just slide these in. Okay. So, we'll set that down. So that gives us our 30, however, centimeters, yada, words. Words, they're hard. You've got two different propeller designs you can take, one that's a semi-flaring, one that's a full flaring. I'm going to take the full flaring one, and we'll understand why here in a minute. Okay, the way this works is you wrap this around so it follows the contour of the rim of the little solo cup here. I have to say, this is, I mean, the ideal way to do this would be to, you know, actually tape it, but that is very nifty right there. I like that. Now, notice, so this gives you basically a helical pitch distribution because the radius changes as you go out, which is what you want. This is not impervious ones. So there you've got two propeller blades. Now the issue that I see, because these are supposed to glue on like this, is if you notice, now we're kind of bumping into that propeller hub. So yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure there. It looks like those should be mounted out here. But if I do that, I'll put my ruler, I end up with an oversized propeller. No, I don't. I just measured wrong. Would not be the first time. Alright, so yeah, 140 centimeters there. Okay, well, the good news is I measured wrong, so that was a load of hooey on my part. Now, they're showing some different shenanigans with the propeller blade angle here, and I'm not sure I understand them. So I'm going to eyeball the propeller angle to try to have it similar out at the tip to what they show. It still bugs me what I did with measuring those propeller spars, because I cut them too short and I still have not figured out what I did wrong. But I did something wrong, and the best I can do is acknowledge it and move on. So that's got one blade. I think that's about right. Now the one thing I will caution you, I don't like these propeller spar arrangements anymore as far as them being adjustable, because my experience in flying this type of propeller competitively is that the pitch will change at the most inconvenient time, meaning the time when you're under the most pressure, and usually at a time when you're not able to actually notice it, so you have no idea that it even happened. So my advice is pick a pitch and glue the blades down. That being said, there is a legal Wright stuff propeller that is much, okay. So 10 centimeters. Well, we're under 180. So this was drawn too small. I trimmed it too small. Now I feel like an idiot there, but whatever. Alright, so what we'll do, actually I don't know what I'm going to do next. Oh, I do know what I'm going to do next. Since I cut this one undersized, we are not going to do a thing except, come here you, I'll pop this one loose, slide it out of here, and I'll give you some washers to use. I don't know if those are glass washers or what, but they're pretty cool. They also give you the option of these Teflon washers. Come on, you. Go on there. First one went on fine. So weird. Why did the first one go? Well, we know that they are glass washers because, yeah, that one broke. And that one fit on just fine, so I don't know what gives. I'm also going to pop out one of these. I don't know what material these are, but they look cool at least. So there's this propeller assembly, a little bit further back there. Now they show leaving a little more yet. And against my better judgment, I'm going to do the propeller hook doohickey that they show, or at least I'll do a variation of it. And then I find out I left my wire dikes on the other side of the room, and my wife is going to come to the rescue like she always does. See, it's the wire dikes fairy in this case. This is the problem I already have, is now I've got this off the pitch gauge and I already had a propeller blade slip to a different pitch angle, a little different pitch altogether. And now getting it back is not a trivial task. Alright, I'm going to say that's close enough. And to prevent any more nonsense of that nature, we're gluing them. I know you're not supposed to, but that's my world. I popped that apart. Now, admittedly, it's designed to pop apart, but still, these are your horizontal stab spars right here. Wing mount assembly. Okay, these are ribs for, or are they? Yes. These are ribs for the stab. No airfoil on the stab, much like the laser cut kit. If I were smart, I would have got out the parchment paper so I could build this, you know, like an adult. But I didn't, so I won't. There is an H stab, and then this is a little on the intricate side. One of the things I noticed is there's a lot of intentionality about the wood density selection in this kit. So like the stab spars are made from super heavy wood. The ribs are not. And that's clearly by design. And frankly, that's pretty impressive stuff to for a kit at this price point. That's going pretty over and beyond. If you compare this to its next closest priced rival, the Guru kit, it has soft balsa for the motor stick and everything else is hard. And it's just easier to put a plane at that price point that way. And then what you're supposed to do with this wire is bend it up like that, and then at this end bend another, so it's kind of a shape like that. And then I think you're supposed to actually punch the, yep, you are. So you punch this. See, that part's not abundantly clear. That's a little of a ding for me. Anyway. you drill that up in there. And I didn't do it straight, so. I can already tell this is going to be more fragile than I think it should be, because that's fairly thick gauge wire, and so you're at risk of breaking this every time you try to bend it. But there it is. It's a very lightweight, very simple way of getting things done. I am going to go ahead and skip ahead real quick. I'm going to lose some pieces if I don't. Alright, so back here at the back of the fuselage, glue on that spacer. And then your rear hook, which is from decently stiff wire, is supposed to glue on that, or go into that, is more to the point. So you then pull it back out, squirt glue, go in. There we go. Yeah, let go of me. So that's in place. Eventually, your prop assembly needs to go up front. And there's a decent amount of clearance accommodated, nothing special. So rear hook, and then up front. Pretty nice setup. Very nice, honestly. Okay, let's go back to the wing. Let's see here. So there are 1, 2. All right. Okay. Yeah. There's a. For some reason, I was thinking there was an extra wing spar in here. There's not. Come out of there. So. The wood for the wing spars could be a little heavier in my opinion. It's not bad though. The main thing is it's medium grade, and then the ribs appear to be from fairly hard wood. So that's not what I wanted. There we go. And wing saddle. Now we'll just try to close the rest of all that back over. Got a center rib getaway. There we go. Okay. So this is your wing saddle that you'll use eventually. Alright, so is an extra rib included here in case you break one. And then we can go ahead and build out our wing. And there's no front and back to the wings, because the airfoil is what's called an arc airfoil. The main thing that you want to make sure of, though, is that you line these up, because the spars taper out towards the tips. And yes, I'm building this in the air. You absolutely should not ever do this. But I am doing it because I'm doing it. I was wrong about that. Was not an extra center rib. And you're supposed to do a doohickey where you block this up to get the proper angle of these center ribs. If you can't tell, I'm not doing it. There we go. And again, don't build this way. I'm just a little short on time, so I'm rushing through it. And so that gives you one wing, and then what I'll do is I'll come back after I've built the second one. I've got the wing assembled. This is not attached. I've just got it set here to show what the dihedral kind of looks like. And I've got a messy workspace. I mean, you're just getting to see me in my true form, native habitat here. What we're going to do is do the final step in the basic construction before we have to cover the plane. And so that is making the wing mounts. Now these wing mounts are pretty fat, so aerodynamically I'm not so sure about that, but it is what it is. And so the little notchy things down here on the outs go on the bottom. Apologies for the concert going on in the background. I can't shut him up. Alright, so that gives you your wing saddle, and then there is another piece that goes on the front of that, which serves as the part that goes down over your motor stick. And so these are cross-grained, and that allows you to prevent them from splitting apart and whatnot. So, in terms of functionality for installing, removing, relocating the wing, very cool. aerodynamically it looks a little on the draggy side. However, based on performance reports, may not be that important. Now on this sheet there's also this little rectangle thing, and that is designed to slide into this slot, and the sole purpose of that is as a CG stand. And there we go. Oh, I forgot, there's another piece. These basswood strips, you take one of these, and that is intended to slot in here like so. And leave that all in place. There we go. So that's the completed wing saddle assembly for this airplane. And it just fits on top of the motor stick like so. It's a pretty cool setup, I gotta say. So just to give you a close-up of it, lots of little parts, but definitely is cool. Doesn't feel super heavy. And so yeah, looks like it should work out pretty well. I like it. Okay, so for this part of the video, I need y'all to excuse the noise in the background. That is from my laser cutter cutting some motor sticks for our own Wright stuff planes, because we've got an emergency order we got to get out. So is what it is. But anyway, we're so I have taken 3M Super 77 and I've sprayed it on the flying surfaces here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cover wings here. I'm going to cover shiny side on the top, and I'm going to lay this on the edge so that I just have that much less to trim here. Excuse the angry ruckus in the background. I've got two very well, one at least upset child, who I don't even know why he's upset, but he and his brother have been fighting most of the afternoon. So this is all there is to covering it. So at least in this regard, it is stupidly simple. And so there you go. If you're going to use 3M77, you need to be very mindful of the fact that as tissue shrinks, it gets a little interesting. The other thing is, I did not pre-shrink this tissue, so I have to be very careful about humidity kicking in and damaging this. Namely, it will warp very severely, so you have to keep this in a dry environment. You cannot expose it to moisture. The only other thing I'll mention, I'm going to use some of the black tissue here. Maybe I'm going to, maybe I'm not. No, I'm not. Is you're only given one piece of this, and this is so you can have that black panel that you get your bonus on from the rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover an outer panel of my wing with that. Now, the catch to this is, now that you do this, you're going to have to put adhesive across here. I would actually use like glue stick or white glue in that particular environment. So I'm not going to go into any real detail beyond that. I mean, you now know everything you really need to know about that topic. So the one last thing, I'll take one of these narrow pieces here, and the rudder, the instructions show covering it on the right side. I don't know whether that's critically important or not. And sorry for the absolute meltdown that is my 4-year-old. I don't even understand. So, anyway, the main thing I'm trying to cover here is the fact that the rudder does indeed have to be covered on the right side, at least per the instructions. Make sure you do something to secure this down here. They show actually wrapping the tissue around here, which may be a good idea. My wife already expressed some concerns about this, which I'll let her talk about after we're done with this build. We have, what I've done is I covered one of the wings like so. I used the Elmer's glue stick to put some more adhesive for my overlap right here, and so we've got that squared away. I've got 2 wings going on like this. I'm going to put something not damagingly heavy, but something that'll weigh the one down. And then we'll bring the other one over here, find my glue. If you can't tell, I've been doing a lot of stuff today, and it has turned my workspace into an absolute train wreck. Come on, there we go. I've almost got enough glue to do something. Here we go. Alright. So we have our dihedral set. I got the ribs close enough on that. This center join, ordinarily I would be concerned about structural integrity with it. However, since this airplane has that fancy pants wing saddle, I'm not worried, because it takes all of the loads. So now we've got this done. Got our dihedral. It's not a whole lot of dihedral, but hopefully it'll be enough. Now all we have to do is lay this guy in here. Now the instructions do talk about making sure that there's full contact along here, and that's because there's a tendency for these saddles here are at a slightly lower level in that center section across there, and so there's some discussion about sanding the center ribs. What I'm instead going to do is I'm just going to carve away just enough of this to get good clearance. Now I have what I'm after. So I've got contact basically all the way across there. So what I'm going to do is put glue along like so, and you really don't need glue along here. What we do next is we're going to install the stab on here. You don't want any stab tilt, and there are various ways to get that. The easiest one, I think, though, is to lay the airplane like this. And one thing to remember is the glue may not soak through the tissue here, so although I use gobs of glue, I used way too much. But anyway, now the stab is level here, and so I'm going to hit it with some accelerator. Now it'll stay put. Now, so the last bit is for our vertical tail here. You'll notice there is this little tab that sticks down, and that's going to play a crucial role here in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in place, and I'm going to mark the spot on the top of that goes, and this is actually a drill. So I am going to drill in here instead of, I mean, you can use a straight pin, but you need to use something to make a nice hole in there. In my case, I do see one problem already. There we go. You have to watch out that this is going to want to pop up and do all sorts of naughty things that you're not going to like. But anyway, I've got my rudder installed, and then I can shift it over either side like that. That's not going to be enough to get your turn, but it'll kind of get you started. Okay, so I have my scale here, and it's zeroed out. So we'll set this guy in here. And our weight is 8.15. So the airplane is right at the minimum weight. Well, you know, a shade over, but negligibly so. So, I would say that does make things a little on the interesting side in terms of it's kind of close on that, but it's not bad. Now the thing is, you've got, let's see if I can get some of this junk out of my way here. Just sent a razor blade flying. Brilliant. But you've got this nifty little CG scale here. This is unlike the one that's in the Retro RC Scholastic, you know, the glider kit. Man, I like this one. This one's just right. It's got enough gap here, and so if you set this plane in here, you can, if you're not clumsy like me, you can set the CG really accurately. So I like that. That's really nice. Alright, so you've got built-in incidents in the stab. We'll give this a test glide and go from there. The bottom line is we're getting fairly close, and then you can fine-tune it. This, I would actually suggest that using rubber bands to hold the wing on might be a little bit better of an idea. I mean, the masking tape method works, and on gliders it's quite successful, honestly. But on your planes, it's a little, I mean, it's a little unwieldy on both. But on planes, it's not necessary, whereas on gliders, you need something kind of rigid for your attachments. Alright, so my starting CG is back here, and that's without the rubber motor, so we have to bear that in mind. Okay, so we're going to just give this a test glide real quick. Rather than make up a rubber motor that is from the kit, I'm using a loop of 3/32 from the Laser Cut Planes kit. This is basically the same. It's just John McGrath uses hard nylon O-rings, whereas Retro RC supplies normal ones. So the rudder is on the, moved over to the left side here. We gave the airplane a test glide before, if you remember, and it turned to the left fairly nicely. Now, I have not CG'd this with the rubber motor on it. That was kind of dumb. Oh well. So I moved the wing back a little bit. I also replaced the tape with rubber bands because I've got rubber lubricant all over my fingers, and that's making the tape not stick because, yeah, I'm messy. Oh well. So like I said, I slid the wing back a little bit. We'll see if it's any happier. So let's try this one more time, see if I can get something less ridiculous. She's still stalling a little. Looks like a power on stall though. Wing back a little bit more. Hopefully that'll help. I mean, when I say power on stall, I mean under power the plane's pitching up. As the power backs off, it seems to be less unhappy. So I think we may have an issue there. I'm also noticing a slight warp in my right wing. That could be interesting later. Oh, much better. Until it wound it back up. Let's try again here. Well, other than my terrible launch, that looked okay. I think we can establish left turns going okay. So I'm going to shift the rudder over here to the right. I'm just moving over to the right side. See if that's enough to get things going. Oh. Alright. Did look like it was heading towards a stall, but there's enough rudder authority to make it go, so you don't actually have to permanently bend the rudder either way, which is really cool. So I've gone outside and I've flown this airplane a little bit. Got it flying well in both directions after some efforts. So a couple things that I saw were the blades very quickly stop. I've got grass stuck in there. Very quickly the blade spars started popping loose because I kept stalling the airplane and it would dive in, and finally the glue joints there broke, and then after that, so I glued the spars in, and then the blades themselves started breaking next to the spars. So yeah, they're held together. Like, you see how much flex there is in that? That's because it's like it's ready. It's done. And I'm not saying that the blade design is entirely bad. We'll come back to that. But the bottom line is I got it over 20 seconds in both directions. It's kind of breezy outside. It's at night and it's breezy, so the conditions are bleh. And all of the flights that were over 20 seconds involved the airplane hitting something about 5 to 10 feet up, so that, add another 10 seconds onto that at least. I think the airplane's capable of doing over a minute in both directions. I also think that the 3/32 rubber is too much power for it. So all of that. The wing started shifting on me some in the crashes and whatnot because reasons. I think the airplane would be a lot easier to trim if the nose right here were angled down slightly so you could get some down thrust, because the airplane tends to stall either direction. It stalls under power, and then as the power backs off, that goes away. So that's an easy solution, and the behavior is the same in both ways. I had to take this warp out of the left wing, or right wing that was washed in, and the airplane was just completely unmanageable in either direction until I got rid of that, and then it flew great. And I just did it by bending the wing a bunch until it set. The rudder adjustment thing, I'm just shifting it side to side, and that gives me, it gets fairly wide turn, but you know, if you're needing to tighten up, you're going to have to actually bend that wire, which is going to fatigue it, which is why I have Hope here to explain Science Olympiad contest schedules for those of you who are not familiar with what the invitational cycle looks like.
Yeah, most of you guys are going to at least one a month. Sometimes you guys have two two a
Hush,
month.
Pee-wee. Carry on. I'll take
Everybody's a
care of the
critic.
bird.
And so the more that you're gonna move that rudder, especially if you have to actually move it up front where the grass tubing is, the more you guys are gonna fatigue it. And actually, the more that you fatigue it, it's actually gonna break off. So that was when he was built. There was a couple things that I saw when he was building it, and that was one of the things. Is now he found out with just moving the rudder back and forth, he was able to get the adjustments.
It's a fairly wide circle, so there is that
yeah,
too.
so if you guys have a smaller room and you have to move it more and more, also, you know, because you got, not only do you guys have invitationals, you have to prepare for those. You're constantly flying them in whatever sites you guys have.
And tearing up propellers.
Yeah, that was another thing that I saw. Was I was really skeptical about the prop, whether it was going to hold up, and that was one of the things that he found out is he had a lot of trouble with it holding up.
Flip side is that propeller, this is the only Wright stuff propeller for this year's rules I've seen that has a hint of actual flaring. So under load, like if I have it wound up, I can hold this and it bends up quite a bit, which means it is an actual flaring prop. So on an airplane that's stable enough to make use of that, I think this one would need for the stab to be on an extension out to about right here, and then it'd be perfect. It'd have enough stability to really take advantage of that. And I think also just this propeller seems to absorb power better than any I've seen. Any of the other designs, aerodynamically it's superior, but it's fragile.
No.
I think the bottle blades are a winner, but they need to be made from thicker plastic. I don't know that the flaring is necessarily helpful. It's more just having something that can absorb that power without stalling. Did you have any more thoughts?
No.
Okay. So, in terms of quality of the build, I may have mentioned this, but the quality is excellent. It's beautiful in every way. I think the tissue paper, like I said, you got to be careful about that not getting damp and shrinking. But other than that, I mean, everything that the plane builds out right to weight. It builds cleanly. The parts quality is superb. There are lots of options, so you can use a not so fragile propeller.
Yeah, they did include the plastic ones that you guys can cut down to meet the rules. So it's not like you have to use this one. They included other ones, so.
Yeah. I think in general, very high quality kit. I recommend trying it out. I really do, especially since the price is fairly low, and it builds two airplanes like most of the others. So I like it. I just think there are a few issues to address, and I think some of that would be found in basically kit bashing. So like if you wanted to take this nose off, you could cut a wedge thing here in the nose and build in your down thrust. You could play around with your motor stick, put it on an extension back here, shave the motor stick down, because this motor stick is like, mine are pretty strong. This makes them look like toothpicks. I mean, it's built like a tank. The airplane is very strong. I mean, in terms of durability, I think in terms of durability, it's the best out there, bar none. It just is. But like I said, to make those mods, you're going to have to shave some weight off. Some of it might just come from hollowing all of this out, because that's not necessary. So yeah, I'm going to say thumbs up for the Retro RC Minnow. I think it's a good airplane to play around with. I think it has some contention to be the airplane to go to if you handle it correctly. Although I will say, for the average flyer, my money is right now very firmly on the laser cut planes kit, just because it may not be the peak performer, but it is the one I've built that literally off the board it just flew both directions. And I've done lots of stupid things with it, and it continues to just it just goes. It doesn't require a lot of input there. So that's kind of where my contention is. I think the big finding on all of this, though, is biplanes are really nasty this season. That's why I'm not even recommending building biplanes anymore. My own customers, I'm telling, look, just build it as a monoplane. It'll fly just as long, and it won't make you absolutely hate your life. So anyway, Retro RC Minnow, thumbs up.
Hi, I'm Josh Finn. This is Hope. We are J&H Aerospace.
If you like this video, hit the like button.
Also, how about subscribe to our channel and check out jhaerospace.com for new free flight products and all of the tooling that you'll need to build them.
Thanks for watching.